has to be done in the physical. So someone will say, tefillin, I don't need a physical pair of tefillin in order to attach myself to God. Well, no. The mitzvah is contracted in order to gain access to the infinite light of God. It's now contracted in a pair of tefillin. And not only that there is tefillin in the physical, tzitzis in the physical, offerings are of the physical, everything, giving charity, right? It means expressed in the physical money that you're giving. That's why the giving of your time is not, it's charitable, it's kind, but it ultimately needs to be expressed in the physical. So, not only is it expressed in the physical, but that delimiter of Gevura, right, that contraction of the divine light in order that we can incorporate in our lives the light of God, that we can have a connection to Him. The mitzvahs have to be done also in a delimited way, meaning the tzitzis have to be a certain size. The tefillin have to be like minimum 2 finger breadths by 2 finger breadths in size, not less. The lulav that we shake has to be for the minimum 4 hand breadths in size. The sukkah has to be 7 hand breadths minimum size, for example. The shofar that we just began blowing today has to be a minimum of 1 hand breadth. A mikvah 40 saw, the size of water that would fit into a telephone booth, if anybody knows what that is today. Likewise, offerings on the altar have a certain age. Sheep of a 1-year-old, rams 2 years old, and so on. And when it comes to charity, likewise, the act of kindness that we do by giving money, which the world stands on, this act of kindness, even though it's a kindness, but yet it has also a delimiter, a limitation, a boundary to it. And what's that boundary of tzedakah? Preferred is 20%, 1/5 of your net income. And the average measure would be 1/10. Meiser, a tenth. This is called chesed olam, kindness of the world. Meaning, it's a kindness that comes from heaven. That all of the light of God is an expression of God's kindness, that He gives us that opportunity that we can be connected to His light, to Him, not just His light, but to Him through this light. But it's expressed in a delimited fashion because it goes through the divine gevura, the divine restraint, divine power of holding back the light. So now the mitzvah is actually to be done in a specific way. So that way, if you have the tefillin not between your head, and it's not black straps, they're whatever the tefillin are, they have not been, you have not done the mitzvah in the appropriate way. Why does it have to be this way? Well, it's because this is the way it came through the infinite of God, through the kindness of God, through the gvura, the restraining power of God, and therefore it's expressed itself this way. So now when we speak about charity, right, when tzedakah, charity, endures. So when a person is practicing this charity, it's going to be with a finite measure, 10% to 20%, right? As the world is finite, as the expression of this mitzvah is finite, as all mitzvahs are finite in their expression. But through that the finitude, it gives us an attachment, not only to God's kindness, but to God Himself. Now, this applies to us now, these mitzvahs, when we, don't stray from the path. When we are on the straight and narrow. When you're on the straight and narrow, in the righteous path, so the laws as we've explained them, this is how you do them. However, if a person did stray from the path, God forbid, right? So what happens? What does it mean you strayed from the path? It means that, let's say you didn't, for a Jew, a man, for example, a Jewish man, 13 and over, by putting on tefillin, brings this light of God into this world. So what's happened now? You've diminished in bringing that light of God into this world. Or let's say not being charitable. You haven't given charity for a week. What does that mean? It means the light of God has been diminished, not just in your life, but in the world, as a result that you didn't give charity this past week, for example. So there is a diminished amount of light of God that has been elicited through an individual, right? That infinite light of God that is expressed in a finite way of bringing it, but it's an infinite light of God that we bring into this world. So we have lacked in doing that. So what do? So God has another kind of kindness, supernal kindness, a superior one. It's Rav Chesed. It's about abundant giving that radiates without any limit. And it encompasses us in a way that doesn't contract the light. Before we spoke about the contracted light, that we do the mitzvah in a specific way, right? In the limited way. But now, when we are lacking, we need to do. Now, you can't do tefillin in an infinite way, in the sense of, right? Or tzitzis, it doesn't mean like, I'm going to do tefillin, infinite amount of ways. No, doesn't mean that. What that means, we'll have to we'll explain it in tomorrow's class. But the concept over here is, when we've diminished the light, we have to introduce now a greater light that could fill the holes that we are lacking, the vacuum that we've created. And this is what it means, tshuva, penitence. Penitence on a higher level means to introduce into this world a light that is above and beyond the light that was lacking previously. And this is what our sages have taught in the Talmud, that in the place, meaning the level, where the penitent stands, the one who's about tshuva, the one who has returned, even the perfectly righteous do not stand. Because the perfectly righteous are the level that we spoke about previously. They do everything, the mitzvah, exactly the way it's to be done. And when they do it that way, they're always bringing this light of God into this world. But for someone who is lacking it and needs to do tshuva, to be a bal tshuva, to be a penitent, to return to Hashem, so we need to make up the light that we're lacking. And that's why, ultimately, the penitent is greater than the righteous. Because they will introduce a kindness of God that is limitless. Not a kindness of God that is delimited through Gvura, but an infinite one. What that is, how that expresses itself. Stay tuned for more. In the middle of the thought. And tomorrow we'll explain that idea. How can I be expressing infinite kindness in my life to make up for my kindness that I was lacking, that was delimited? Anyway, powerful stuff that we're learning. Amazing when you think about it. We stray, do things wrong. God gives us an opportunity, not, many people think, oh, God of the Old Testament is very punishing. Well, that's until you learn Tanya. God of the Jewish people is not punishing, giving us great opportunity. As we learn every day, and join us tomorrow 7:05 on Zoom or on Facebook, Chabad ZK, where we learn about the King in the Field. Join us. so much that we have going on daily. So let's get into some questions here. Vida, when Hashem Shekhinah will be revealed, will everything be elevated in Chesed? Yeah. We won't have to have the restraining order anymore of God's holding back His infinite light. That's Mashiach, yes. So, will there be Gvura? Of course there will be Gvura, because Gvura is not a bad thing. Fire's not a bad thing. Water's not a bad thing. Right? So there will be Gvura. But it won't be a Gvura that's going to restrain and hold back the light of God. On the contrary. In the Gvura we will, in the detail. You know what Gvura really means? Chesed is sort of like, indiscriminate. Gvura is very discriminating. So there's something about being indiscriminate in giving, and there's something about being discriminating that also has it. So we'll have both qualities, and we'll be able to perceive God's presence and realness and everything. Yes. Roy. More of a reward now or in the world to come? I'm not certain what you mean, Roy, but if I understand correctly, so I don't know what you mean by reward. Reward in Tanya means experiencing godliness. So we don't experience it today. So we don't have the reward today. But in the world to come, we will. Times of Mashiach, we will experience that which we're talking about now. Are we experiencing that when we do the mitzvah, that infinite light of God that comes by way of, limited, of a kindness, God's kindness that is delimited through Gvura or contracted through Gvura, and therefore we're experiencing that? I'm not. And pray tell, I don't think any of us are. So that's what reward is, that you can actually experience and sense it, feel it. But we will in times of Mashiach. So if that's what you mean, absolutely correct, Roy. Thank you. Oh, Andrew has a question. Does our tshuva fix the crooked light created by our acts and create a newer light from the original pure light? Yes, that's the point. That through tshuva, we are now accessing an infinite light of chesed that's not going and being curtailed through gvura, not being contracted. So we made holes. When we stray, we're making holes, gaps, that a light could have come through there, but it didn't. So it's missing. That gap was an opportunity in time, in space, that I could have done a mitzvah. And I didn't do it. So now there's a gaping hole, a vacuum that was created, that a light was not brought into my life and into this world. Life of my family and for all of us, actually, ultimately. So through tshuva, now we're going to access the infinite light that's not the limited, and therefore we can rectify by filling that hole through tshuva, yes. Now, how that expresses itself, we didn't get into. That will be tomorrow. So stay tuned. I'll keep you on the edge of your seat. We do want you to come back, right? Ranos from Budapest. You're going to come back, I hope. So it's a different way to understand things, right? Rather than the usual kind of, a very different way. Okay. Who else is going to express some thoughts with us? Anybody on Clubhouse? Oh, we have a nice group here today on Clubhouse. Some new faces and some regulars. I don't want to say it. You're not old. No one's an old face. You're all young and vibrant. Well, especially if you're learning Tanya. Especially if you're learning Tanya. Okay, any comments, questions on this further? I don't see in Clubhouse. I don't see on.
Rabbi?
Vilma, please share.
You were very clear today. Like, I think everything came together as far as God's qualities of Hesed and Gevurah, as well as the concept of Teshuvah. It was just so glorious how it came together.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much. Beautiful. So a reminder, today, lots happening. 6:30, we're going to have a class. 8 o'clock, TRC. I invite you to look into the Tanya Rabbi community, taking what we're doing over here to another level, to a completely another level, really reinforcing in a way that it becomes, you have ownership over what we engage in here. This week we'll have one on Thursday too. And reminder that we're in an amazing campaign. I put up already on that everybody can join us and help the amazing work that's being done. In addiction. That's what it is. Chabad Lifeline is an addiction center that is literally saving lives and keeping families together. Not figuratively, but literally. So that will be, God willing, going on for the next 36 hours, or 35 hours by now. And do join us. Malkiel, please share with us. Oh, I see Norm.
Rabbi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I just have a question. I don't see, where did you put it? I want to participate. And what you just mentioned, but I don't see where you posted.
Yeah, I don't see how to post it here because it says only I can give a voice note. So
okay.
charity, let me see, maybe I could.
Or could you do it
No,
in
just
the chat maybe?
huh?
In the chat maybe?
That's what I'm doing, but it says only say something. It doesn't say type. Oh, now okay, I got type. Okay, I'm putting it in.
Oh, Hashem. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you for that, because otherwise I would not have made the extra effort. Okay. Norm, please share with us. Oops.
Rabbi Anatari, you could also probably put it in the chat, in the
I
chat
just,
in the room.
yeah, I just did.
Okay, I couldn't see it.
I just put it in.
It's there
Okay,
now.
there it is.
Yeah, there it is. It's there now. All right, thank you.
It is, thank you.
Okay. All right, folks. I don't see anybody. Norm, what? Okay. All right. Our conversation will continue tomorrow. Don't miss out. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad, Zurich and Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Rambam is coming up right next. God bless you. Have an amazing day, a wonderful month, a month of Elul, the king in the field. We have access today more than ever before. Be well. God bless.